Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a fabulous Friday here in the studio. Grateful to be back with you as always to share, grow, learn, teach best what I most need to learn, as I like to say. Isn't that what we're all doing? Have you ever noticed, like, most of the biggest issues in your life are somehow like reflecting something back to you, some part of yourself, maybe the thing that you're most triggered by in someone else, if you really look at it, in some way will reflect something that you haven't liked or don't like about yourself. And, I see that, I see that happening and playing itself out so much on the world stage. It's like this idea that I'm not what you say I am, you're what you say I am. It's just like this mirror thing is ridiculous. And I think the more we can self-examine, the clearer the view gets out there. But, yeah, well, I digress. I'm jumping right into it today. I wanted to actually start off with reading a review on Apple Podcast. Been asking for those reviews again lately, and some people are obliging and sharing and helping the show to reach new people by doing so. And Adriana Elf took the time to reflect back to me, and I really appreciate it. Adriana said, I want to express my full gratitude to you for this, as you call it, labor of love. On this spiritual journey, we often can question what is real or fake. An episode I heard the other day about synchronicities and noticing red lights and green lights was really impactful, as all your positive words always are. I'd been questioning this journey the past few months and honestly have been in hermit mode, but your words have been refreshing to continue and push forward, to embrace all that we are, all that I am. You mentioned how you and your wife can be a little nutty. Well, I'm not married, but yeah, my partner can be, and yes, can be a little nutty. And your son is a mature, well put together one. Hearing that helped immensely. I felt like if I kept trying to be what I thought I should be because of this quote unquote spiritual journey, and honestly forgot who I am or actually denied who I am, you reminded me to take all the teachings and be who you are and just spread joy and love. Truly grateful for the work and time you put towards these episodes. I highly recommend everyone to listen. Everyone, if you aren't on a spiritual journey, this can help you on your journey of life, self-acceptance, growth, and grow and evolve. Many blessings, and I look forward to continuing to listen to your stories, thoughts, and inspirations. Oh, thank you, Adriana the Elf. Greatly appreciate that reflection, as I mentioned. And yeah, it really is, this is, you said even if you're not on a spiritual journey, and really, it's like whether you realize it or not, right? It's all, as I say in my book, The Golden Key, it's all spiritual business. And, then there's the question of how aware are we of that process, right? And most people, if they're stumbling into the show, they're probably at least somewhat aware that's what the heck's going on around here, that we're doing our dharmic duty and, just finding ourselves That's what Dharma is, right? Finding your purpose. And what's great about finding your Dharma, your purpose, is you are completely, you're a completely unique emanation of source. It's all one, but it's all unique simultaneously. It's that divine dichotomy thing happening. And that feels really good, because what that means is there is work, there is a path, there are lessons, there is a journey that no one else is more suited to experience, take, facilitate, run, steer the ship, if you will, maybe in a particular profession or job or life's work or offering or artistic expression than you. There is a dharmic path that is years and years alone. You are the most qualified to walk that path out of all souls that exist. And I think the more in this day and age, it is so easy to fall into comparison. And then, it's like the problem with comparison is you're always comparing apples and oranges, comparing yourself to someone else and where they're at. You have your own unique trajectory. And I remind you, if you're someone who feels like maybe you're behind or you're slower, or, you're just not up to par with others your age or that you went to school with, or, in your neighborhood, or, whatever, keeping up with the Joneses, that whole thing, your relatives, your siblings, whatever the story is, I remind you, and this really serves me well. I was talking to my brother a little bit about it the other day. I was like, in some sense, we've, our family line, we've always been late bloomers in some way, shape, or form. And, humans themselves are late bloomers in the animal kingdom. We're born compared to, a giraffe or, a horse that can walk or run its first day. We're like really slow. We're born completely helpless. Our brains are completely different, and we're helpless without our mother, right? However, that great disadvantage early on turns into our greatest advantage later. That we start slow, and then we, because of that malleability and the differences there, is where our actual power and differentiation lies. So if you were to take a newborn, whatever animal is the most capable on its birthday, and pit it against a human, it seems way more capable, right? However, fast forward, 10 years, and then tell me who's more capable, or 20 years, if the other animal's even still alive, right? And that's something important for you to think about, again, if you ever fall into the trap of comparison with another person, because the greater one toils for their freedom, the greater the sense of freedom that is attained. And if you're taking longer to mature, or to find your flow, to reach your ultimate potential, that's like a fine wine that is taking longer to become perfect, to become its perfect expression. And I mean, think of some of the great, you hear what comes to mind when I'm talking about this is the 27 Club, right? That's the club of famous musicians like Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain and Janis Joplin and others that I think is Jim Morrison in that, I think maybe, that died at 27 years old. So they achieved all this greatness artistically by 27. I mean, at 27, I still was like, running in circles, figuring out who the heck I was. I was actually making music and art and trying to find my own, but I had a totally different flow. I didn't become world famous and had reached my peak and then, expired from the physical dimension at that age. I was just getting warmed up, right? So, I'm 48 years old now. 48 years young now. And I like to think about it in terms of, and I think I talked about this the other day on the podcast. I can't remember what I say with the microphone on and off, but, this idea that, they're now saying, they've been saying for years, we think we'll get to 150 healthily. Now they're saying, yeah, definitely 150 healthily. People alive now will be 150, and it won't, and not just 150, like crippled over, bent over, like we're on the verge of reversing aging. Like you could 50 years from now look and feel better than you do now. That is a real possibility. Look at what's happening with AI. Look what's happening with medicine. All bets are off. There is no ancestor to compare yourself to. Your grandfather, your grandmother, might as well be a completely different creature to compare my grandfather at 48 to me. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just, I'm telling that story. I'm looking through that lens always of like, imagine let's say 150 is a number. And by the way, if you make it to 130 and by then what's possible, well, at 150, I may be better than I was at 100. No telling, right? All bets are off. We have no idea. But I know what I'm doing, the only thing I've ever been good at, and that's telling good stories around what's happening. So maybe the story is for me, I didn't make it, I didn't burn brightly and burn out quickly like a Kurt Cobain. What a cool story, what a cool journey, and a lot of trouble and hardship in there if you know his story, to use that example. But perhaps I'm just a completely different animal with a completely different trajectory for my soul's dharmic path, right? And so I'm just getting going. I'm just starting. I'm just getting good at business or podcasting or making art or relationships. I'm definitely just getting somewhat good at romantic relationships, I would say. My poor ex-partners, I think back 20 years ago, right? Like, who was that kid? And man, he was immature. But that's the thing. That's the thing to really, it's exciting, right? To think, hold on, you're saying if my grandparents to live to 80 was, 70, let's say 75, that was a average life. And actually my grandparents, most of them died probably on average. My four grandparents have all passed. And if I took their average, it would probably be somewhere around 75 that they lived to. So you're saying I get to 75 in about another 30 years. And by the time I get there, I'm at the new halfway point. So that'd be the equivalent of being born to what my grandparents, it's like, okay, I've got another 75 ahead of me if I made it to 150. Like those time scales are completely different than anything we've dealt with before. And it's so inspiring. So I invite you. I had no idea I would even go down this rabbit hole today. And thanks to Adriana L. for helping me to co-create today's episode by prompting me with what was said to kind of end up here. I love that, by the way. Another reason to take the time to write a review and give me something to like, and to inspire me. I love interacting or a question, write me questions, Brandon@positivehead.com. Like I love being able to interact with you guys. So anyway, I digress again. What an inspiring story to be able to look through that lens and talk about feeling like, we can all remember back to being a teenager and, all possibility is ahead of us. Life is full of possibility and it's all ahead and anything is possible and can happen and will happen. And you believe and you dream and what happens to a lot of adults is life then, grinds them under. It takes the joy. They stop dreaming. They stop, unless you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven, the Bible says. And, they stop being childlike. They throw away the dream. They resign to settling for the job, settling for, this is the last chance I'll have to have a relationship. I better marry the next person that comes along, whatever. When you start taking on this lens of you haven't even made it to, at 75 would be the equivalent of being born in the past because you have another 75 years ahead of you. Like this is all let's call this like pre-party. All your years now, if you're under 75 are still like, you're pre-partying, you're just figuring some things out. And man, that is empowering, and then it gets really empowering when you start to think, I have an eternity ahead of me. Like literally even beyond this physical life, what I was thinking about that popped into my head earlier. I was thinking, the things that make Brandon up, and it's sad to think about, your avatar and going away. I'm sure our soul, there's some level of mourning when you pass, like I'll never be Brandon Beecham again. And, I'll never play this character. And you're in love with yourself and hopefully you should be. And, and it's like, it's a loss in a certain sense. You'll never have the same parents and the same children and the same relationships. But what you will have is the essence of what made that avatar. Even it's even more you than that story, and that will carry forward those certain, they say a lot of times, I've heard it said multiple times, like with past lives, a lot of time you look the same, you kind of have the same eyes or same energetically. It's like, it's still you in there. And so what makes you, that some of the characteristics, they're just going to continue on and on and on and on and on. And it's going to continue to grow and evolve and build on itself. So instead of feeling beat down and grinded under by life, how about you haven't even begun? Like, what about that? Like, you haven't even begun the journey yet. You haven't even, you're just getting going. You are, in the grand scheme of souls, a babe. Like, you are just like beginning of the beginning of the beginning. And allow this message. This message is hitting your ears because it's meant for you. And allow it to inspire you. And every moment's another chance to turn it all around and to get a little bit better and to spark some of that optimism that maybe has been missing from your life. Because that optimism, if you can tap into the spark that we're sharing in this moment on this podcast, that is the stuff magic's made of. And from that, anything can be born. And your job is to take that little spark, and the winds of why not and it's too hard and whatever other crappy story are blowing it's like you're holding a little match and there's wind blowing around you. Your job is to protect that little flame. Put it in your heart, keep it in your heart, fan it with the right energy, allow it to grow and grow and grow until that becomes the perspective that dominates your being. And watch how much magic comes into your life, how much new potential on this, in this time and space that really, because most of you listening aren't 75, so you still haven't even gotten to ground zero of where your grandparents got to, right? If you live to 150 and and then you have people out there saying we're going to live way beyond that. Some pretty smart people too. So that's a whole nother thing. So whether physical or non-physical, you ain't going nowhere. So you might as well stop feeling sorry for yourself or telling a story that doesn't serve and get to really living. All right, folks, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Hope you stick to it too. I have a song to leave you with today. I played Gold Cap recently. I'm going to play another Gold Cap track. This is a Gold Cap remix by Raposa. The song is called Shanti. Till next time, journey well. Love you so, so much.